Hi, this is Melanie of Pardesi Reviews, and I'm here with a special guest, Nona Prince, who also has a YouTube channel, and we are going to discuss the Dulquer film from 2016, Kammatti Paadam. Before we get into that, Nona Prince, how long have you had your YouTube channel? And one thing that I think is unique about it is that you do a lot of regional cinema as well, same as I do. So, how long have you had your channel?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thank you to be having here. And yeah, it's been 4 years now, more than 4 years. And I think similar to you, Bahubali was the thing which brought us everyone to South Indian cinema, especially for me. And growing up, we didn't have the culture of movies. I didn't watch many classics. Like still, the biggest films in the world I have not watched yet. So I'm still discovering, and that's how I got into South Indian cinema. I discovered a lot of like great pieces of masterpieces, and I'd love to talk about those. That's why the channel came in. I want to talk or share my thoughts on it, and that's how it has been going. And also, my education is in the field of filmmaking.
Oh,
I did,
really?
yeah, I graduated in animation filmmaking,
Oh, wow.
so that helped me a lot.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that what you work in now? Or it sounds like,
So, since this year, I've been totally focusing on YouTube.
okay.
I think 2019 July, I got over with my college, and then I did some 3 months in internship and all, but didn't enjoy the corporate style and all of that. So
Yeah.
I thought let's just focus on YouTube and see where it goes.
Okay. Um, yeah, I could tell that you have such insight into the way color is used and the different, I just sort of intuitive, and I feel like I talk a lot about the emotions and characters and whatever, but I'm not necessarily as schooled on filmmaking techniques or camera, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like
Yeah.
I intuitively knew that you had a little bit more background in that, so that's fascinating. What's one thing that's I know is different for me as a viewer in America is Kammati Paadam, for instance, was a film that I saw in the theater. There's in Chicago. There's one theater in all of Chicago that shows Malayalam films, and it's a theater with 6 screens, and they show all different kinds of regional cinema. They show Hindi films, but it's the one place that I can go, and I have to drive on the highway 40 minutes to get there. But for Dulquer, it's worth
Yeah.
it. But when you watch the films, are they shown, like, is a Malayalam film shown in theaters near you? I mean, if it's not the pandemic, I'm saying in before
Yeah.
times. Can you see it with subtitles, or are they just shown for people and it's in Malayalam and you have to wait for it to come on a streaming service where you would have subtitles?
Yeah, so I've mostly like I think all Malayalam films I've watched on OTT, and like when I was in Mumbai, I was studying there. So Mumbai is a hub, so you get all the movies from around the globe. So, but the problem is like I think Manangam it was supposed to come in theater, but it was very far from me, and there was no clear thought about will it have subtitles or not. I literally went to the theater, I asked them, and they said no, and the next day I got to know they had, and it was already gone. So I didn't get to catch it, but mostly I've seen on OTT. And in some movies, it has been very difficult, to even Kammati Paadam. Yesterday we were watching it on Hotstar, and we found out it's a censored version. It's like
Mm,
15 minutes removed from the film, all the blood scenes and everything. And I was feeling weird because the editing was very choppy. And then I was
mm,
told, oh, because I was watching with my viewers, so they told me it's not the right version. And then we arranged the original cut and then watched it. So its
yeah.
availability is an issue, but yeah, I would love to watch it in theaters, of course.
This was an amazing film to see in theaters. I'll just say that. I
Yeah,
mean, that's something that really kind of surprised me. So for me, I don't speak any of the Indian languages. I've
yeah,
tried to study Hindi a little bit, so at least I know a few words here and there. But for me, I'm relying on subtitles for all of the films. So in a way, they're kind of the same, and I don't have a barrier. And I just didn't realize There's just not so much. You can live in a city and maybe I've heard like in Chennai, maybe a certain film might be shown just like one night with subtitles or something for an audience that's not a native speaker in Malayalam or whatever. So there's not necessarily, but now with streaming platforms, there is much more cross-pollination of people being able to see some of these films. And this film has a tie to the Hindi film industry in that Rajeev Ravi, the director, has been a cinematographer on Gangs of Wasseypur and other films with Anurag Kashyap. And I know Anurag Kashyap at the time the movie came out was a big cheerleader for the film, and what a great gang kind of film it is. It's a very different kind of a gang film than other ones that he's done, but he was a big cheerleader of it. And it was Rajeev Ravi has worked in all different industries, did you see the film Mouton, the recent film? So he was cinematographer in that, but his wife actually was the director of that film. And again, Anurag Kashyap collaborated with them and helped them with the Hindi dialogues for the parts of the film that were set in Mumbai. So there's a close collaboration. To me, it's so fascinating how some of these behind the scenes people, well, even actors, they cross all different industries, but sometimes the viewers may be only seeing the film as a dub version or something, when, like you say, when it comes on TV or streaming or something. And anyway, I guess in a way I'm lucky in that I can see all of these films with subtitles. And I'm so thankful that Indian theater that I talked about in Chicago has been shut down for the entire pandemic. Not that I'm anxious to go to a theater right now anyway, but I'm thankful that so many films are coming straight to streaming. Because we are getting some new content from all of these different industries. Bollywood, we had announcement of some big Bollywood films that are going to be coming to streaming later this year. But anyway, so back to Kammatti Paadam. I want you to imagine what it was like. So I'm a huge Dulquer fan. I started with OK Kanmani. Have you seen that film?
No.
Yeah. You haven't seen that film? Oh my gosh. Okay, so it's a Tamil film by director Mani Ratnam, who did Dil Se and other, famous films. A fantastic love story, and Dulquer is so charming. Prakash Raj is like his landlord. It's a touching romantic story about a live-in relationship with Nevia Menon, and Prakash Raj plays a sweet husband of a wife with Alzheimer's. Like it's a very different role for Prakash Raj too. Highly, highly recommend. So I fell head over heels for Dulquer when I saw this film. Okay, and I then sought out all his other films. So I saw some of the first Malayalam films I saw were Ustad Hotel and Bangalore Days. And two really great films of Dulquer, but very early in his career. So then this film is only 3 years basically after his debut, and it's so different from what had come before. In the previous year, he had done this sweet film called Charlie, where he sort of plays a manic pixie dream guy, I guess, to Parvati is in that film. Wonderful film. And then just 3 months before this film came out. This film came out in June of 2016. So this is when I was starting to be able to watch them in the theater. He did a film called Kali. Have you seen that film? With Sai Pallavi. And Kali means anger. So he plays a guy with anger management issues, but then the second half of the film becomes this thriller. And Vinayakan, who plays his friend in Kammatti Paadam, is the villain. And Kali. So a terrifying villain, okay?
Definitely.
But so I had seen Vinayakan before, but then in June of 2016, this movie comes out, and it was so different than anything else that Dulquer Salmaan had done that I had seen. I had never seen him play an older man, with gray hair and with a mustache. Now I know he looks so much like his father, Mammootty, with that, big mustache. But it was, now he's done things like Mahanati and other really great films, but you have to understand, like, it was just like, like, wow, this is so different and so amazing. So Dulquer was good, but the standouts for me in the film, and you talked about this in your video,
Yeah.
Vinayakan. Oh my gosh, he plays the a character of Ganga, his Dulquer's friend in the film, and just like you talked about the casting too, amazing
Yeah.
younger actors and
Yeah.
child actors that they had. They show these characters when they were children, and then there's their sort of young teens, and then adults, and then
Yeah.
later in life. So you see them over time, and the casting was really really amazing.
They
Um,
nailed it.
yeah. So, what were your first impressions? You had some fits and starts of being able to watch the film, but what really struck you about it as you were watching it? Did it seem really different to you from other Malayalam films?
Definitely, I think the first thing was the non-linear storytelling. So you're already hooked and attentive that you should not miss anything what's happening on screen, and then slowly everything is starting to reveal. Surprisingly, I like didn't watch the trailer. I don't look at anything. It's more fun like that. So when they were in Mumbai, they were talking Hindi, and I because I know the language, like oh, it clicks right. And I talked about in the review also. It felt very authentic because Rajeev Ravi knows how everything works there. Even Muthun, I think like half the film is in Mumbai,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nice to see because what happens mostly when you're making a film for a certain audience, you try to make characters who may not speak a certain language. They'll speak that because of the audience, because Indian audience don't like subtitles. So
Mm.
if there's a Malayali character in a movie, in a Hindi movie, he'll speak in Hindi instead of Malayali. So that's one of the big reason, because people don't like reading subtitles. They just they don't care if it's authentic or not. They just want to understand what's happening. So I think that for me it's very refreshing, even Muthun and even this film, that we are seeing it's not like just a Malayalam film, it's an Indian film. And wherever you are in India, the cat is speaking that language. So that's really refreshing. And things like that, certainly it does not change the whole movie for you, but it really adds that the film is well researched, and the creator respects me as a watcher. So he thinks like, yes, I have a IQ to understand what's happening on screen. So that's really refreshing, and I think that's one of the big thing in Malayalam cinema. It's very rare to see in other industries, and it makes like their argument is also valid, because they are making it for the audience, and if the audience don't get it, if they don't like it, then what's the purpose of making it? So that really stood out for me. And I think it was a little slow. It was taking time, and I don't mind it, because I look at it, if I just take the film and edit it, can I remove some parts and the film will still make sense? I try to think in that way, and in this film, I don't think there's anything like that. So that was a good thing. So I don't complain about the length. It doesn't affect me that much, because you cannot do anything. It has to be that long. And I heard that the director's cut is like 3 hours 40 minutes, and I
No,
would love to
I heard there's a 4.5 hour version. I
yeah,
actually am kicking myself because I didn't buy this when it first came out on DVD, because they were saying there was going to be a special edition that would be 4 hours long. It's now, which never happened, and now
yeah,
it's impossible to find. So, fortunately, like I watched it also on Hotstar in America, but I think mine was, because it's in the US, I don't think it was the censored version. I think it was the full 3 hours. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it's sort of, you wonder like what else, an hour or an hour and a half more, what other
yeah,
things did they distill down to just 3 hours? And it's not like a bloated film with lots of big dance numbers that stretches it out. There's
yeah.
so much story there. um yeah,
Actually,
you're
if you
right.
see the
It's,
trailer, there's a lot of scenes which are not in the film. So,
oh really?
the girl who's after Dulquer in Mumbai, she's a big good actress, and you can see a lot of good performances. She has a big role. So I think in
Wow.
the big cut we have the whole story about in Mumbai and other characters too, and I think they cut that out.
Okay.
So do you know about Snyder Cut?
Yes.
Zack Snyder Justice League cut. So
Right.
I would like to see this film getting a series kind of a treatment, like 6 episodes, maybe 40 minutes each. That would be
Yeah.
cool. I think maybe maybe Amazon or Hotstar can take up that. That'd be cool.
I, I would definitely be all about that. Yeah, this would make just like Gangs of Wasseypur essentially,
Yeah,
was like a 5 hour film that could have been a miniseries or whatever. Yeah, I think this one also, yeah, because you're curious about. I mean, Dulquer is sort of the focus of the film, but to me, the heart of it is Vinayakan's character, and Balan. But yeah, you're curious about what happened to him, like with his background and him being in jail, and now he's doing security for like it's just sort of like they drop these little nuggets of information about his life in Mumbai, but you're sort of curious of how he got to where we see him at the in the beginning of the film. Anyway, so I not knowing the Malayalam language, like I didn't really know when I first saw it what the title meant. The title is a place, and in watching it again and knowing that it's about the change of this place from a rural idyllic setting to then just being part absorbed into and part of the concrete jungle of the
yeah,
city. I just saw so much how Rajeev Ravi, the director, takes us slowly from at first when they're children, it's just wide open spaces and beautiful scenery, and it's just this country setting for these kids that are having mostly an idyllic childhood, although they're exposed to violence very early
yeah,
on in their lives. But then slowly you see that. I think it's like when Dulquer's character first comes out of jail, he's like, when did this happen? Because all of
yeah.
the houses have
Fence. Yeah,
fences and there's concrete dividers, and so it's starting. And then gradually there's like a highway ramp near people's house, and then they have tiny little shacks, and it's a progression to more and more urban throughout the
yeah,
film. And I don't know, when I first saw it and I was just kind of absorbing, that I really got that this is all the same place.
yeah.
It's a story not just of these people but of this place and how much it changed over this period of time. One thing that also strikes me is that it's really the story of the Dalit people and how they were tricked into giving away their land. But instead of Vinayakan, essentially, it's like Dulquer is our entry into their world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I wonder if, it made me think like, he's the star because these other people weren't as well known at the time. I mean, now Vinayakan has been the star of his own films and so forth, but he was the star attached to the film. If you see the poster of the film, his face is the biggest one
Yeah.
and so forth to draw people in to watch the film. I mean, there's been other films recently that were just focused on the Dalit character as the central character and were from their point of view. And instead, I feel like the whole film is we're looking at their point of view through Dulquer's eyes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to be super critical. I understand, like, if you're making commercial
Yeah.
cinema, you have to have the star attached. And I'm thankful that Dulquer had this role for me to see him do. But I'm just saying, you wonder what kind of a film it would have been like if we were totally centered through either Balan's eyes or through Vinayakan's eyes, through the
Yeah.
whole film instead.
That's a good point. It's basically like the privilege, how privilege look at it. And have you seen Article 15?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that film also faced criticism that it's like the upper class is coming to save the lower class. So it's like what do you call it?
White savior
Yeah,
is the
yeah,
way
the
that we
savior,
talk.
yeah, yeah, the
Yeah, I
savior
mean, so
complex. So
a similar equivalent criticism to a film is like the film The Help. The book was written the same way. It's through the white character's eyes we're seeing the story of the maid played by
Yeah.
Viola Davis instead of it being the movie is about Viola Davis. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so it's sort of a similar thing. Whose narrative, whose perspective are we
Yeah.
seeing the story through?
And I think Article 15, I think what people don't see is that the film is made not by a Dalit. So he cannot represent what it is to be a Dalit in the society. And his point of view is to show the privilege in the audience through a privileged eye to see what's happening around him. I think
Right.
that's the point of the director to make. And if it would be wrong, for him to make a movie through a Dalit's eyes because he doesn't know anything. He
Right.
cannot, we can argue, maybe he can do research and everything, but still, a person who has faced that can make a better film than a person who hasn't. So that
Have you
experience
seen
comes
Have
in.
you seen Fandri or Sarat?
I've not seen Fandre, I've seen Sairat.
I mean, both of them are the same director, Searing Films. Yeah, if you enjoy Sarat is so hard to watch, but if you
Yeah.
enjoyed that one, Fandri is his earlier film. Amazing. So, yeah, I mean, those are films by a Dalit filmmaker. I'm blanking on his name right now. But anyway, this
Nagraj
film,
Manjula.
yeah.
Nagraj Manjula.
So this film, Rajeev Ravi didn't write the script. The writer was B. Balachandran, who
Yeah.
has, I guess, is a noted playwright. And
Yeah.
interestingly, he's the one that plays Dulquer's father
Yeah.
in the film. And so, yeah, I thought their relationship was interesting. Like the scene when Dulquer gets out of jail and his father you could see like sort of overcome things to stand there and wait for his son, who he's so disappointed in, who killed a policeman, and then immediately Vinayakan shows up and he's off with his friends, and it's just this crushed look on his father's face, like, okay, he didn't learn anything. Like here we go again.
Yeah.
He's lost to me. So yeah, and they have an interesting relationship, but the other family dynamic is Vinayakan and his older brother Balan, who is the gang leader of their
Yeah.
little gang, and who they sort of progress in their gang from just small time bootlegging, and then they start being the ones kicking out their neighbors from their land, and forcing them to sell to the real estate mafia, which is then going to become these high rises. And the key scene in the film for me, Balin's character, is that confrontation that he has with his grandfather
Yeah.
in the middle of the film, where the grandfather is like, how can you be doing this? And then Balin is like, what did you teach us? How are we supposed to live on this land right now with the way it's all divided up? What are we supposed to do?
Yeah.
But then that, him rejecting everything that the grandfather has taught him, the grandfather essentially dies of a broken heart,
Yeah.
right after that. And that changes Balin's point of view, but then it's like it's too late. Yeah, we haven't
Yeah.
really talked about this amazing actor, Manikandan. This was
Yeah.
I think this was his first film. I think he had done theater, but I believe this was his first film, and what a debut! Like, amazing.
Hey, have you seen Carbon
Yes,
with Fahad? I think he was in that also, no? He was the guide.
right.
I don't know
But
if that came. I think that came later.
yeah, that came later. But this was his first film. Vinayakan, I think, had supporting roles in several other films, and like Kali was the one that I really noticed him because he had such a big role as the villain. But this is a film that Vinayakan got Best Actor awards. Yeah, I mean it's one of those. If it was in the Oscars, like, which do you say is the lead? How many lead characters are there? Who's
Yeah.
supporting? Whatever. But he won so many awards for this film, and rightly so. And just have you seen Email? Yeah,
Yeah. That's my favorite Malayalam film.
yeah. That's your favorite of all Malayalam
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that film wrecked me. That one is just so uh, amazing performances in that film. But anyway, so I haven't seen Vinayakan had a film, I think, in the last year where he was the lead, and I haven't had a chance to see that yet. But this is making me want to seek that out because he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your review just sort of the dead-eyed
Yeah.
look of despair that he has, especially as he's an older man in the film. It's just like you're seeing raw pain on the screen. You know, he's so
And
expressive.
coming back to the grandfather scene, it also, the movie also shows, as as generation come, there's a generation gap also, and we are losing the connection between them. That
Right,
grandfather has no answer to him because he always thought we have to live together as a community, but now it doesn't work. And that's how,
right,
we are also, as a humans and nature, we are losing the connection, that now we have to move on. That growth is inevitable, and the growth, the way it's going, we have to we have to cut the trees, we have to make buildings, and that's our growth. And we're also losing the connection. I think that comes back when he's left alone because he has no connection. He's like, as I said, the river Ganga, there's a lot of projects going on to clean it, and because it's dying, it's very dirty now with
mm.
pollution and everything. So he's also, it's left alone, right? He's left alone. There's no connection to anyone in his life, and he's, because in the city we say, you are alone because you have lost all the connections.
And lost
I think that
collection.
was a,
Yeah, lost the connection to the land too, which was
yeah.
so. I mean, you can see in their childhood scenes how important it was, and the fishing, and just and all of that. They've lost all of that. So, yeah, it just there's so many scenes that are just so memorable and really stick with me. It's not just the violence, although I could tell you watching it in the theater, it was visceral, and I had sort of forgotten how Balan dies, and so I
Yeah.
literally in my living room jumped like when the car explosion happened. I was like, I totally forgot about that. I don't know. They just lulled you. You sort of knew something was going to happen, but I'd forgotten that was how it was going to happen, and it really, boy, the way the director did it, it just really gut punches you when that happens. Um, I can't remember the actress's name, but the woman that plays Balin's wife is so interesting because I can't tell if she's supposed to be sort of a fixer mafia kind of person herself by the end of the film, or exactly what her role is. But she was kind of,
Yeah.
the women weren't necessarily the focus of the film. Another key scene is the third part
Rosamma,
of
right?
the
Rosamma, the wife.
Rasama,
Yeah.
that the character's name, but the
Yeah.
love interest that Vinayakan eventually marries. What is her character's name? Anita.
That's Anita, yeah, Anita,
So
played by Shaun Romy.
yes. And so when Dulquer comes back, he's asking, because Vinayakan is missing, and he's asking about that. And she's like, even now, all this time I've been waiting for you to come back for me, and you're asking about Ganga. You're not even asking
Yeah.
for me. I mean, I was glad that they included that because I was like, yes, at least she had agency in that moment. She's
Yeah.
being pulled this way and that way between the two men, but she does get to put her foot down at that moment, because it's really more. This is not a film that's about the romance. This is a film
Yeah.
that's more about the relationship of these friends who are like brothers essentially.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just you said you were a little bit disappointed in the film. So what was it? Just kind of having to watch it in fits and starts? Do you think it was, or just what was it that didn't make it a great film to you?
I think there was a lost connection between the film, that, like, I see how good the film is, how, well made the film is, but it doesn't make me excited to maybe watch again. That's a big thing for me, the rewatchability of that film, and make me imagine, what happens next, what happens to
Mm,
these characters. Like, I don't feel that, because the way the film is structured, it just ends, right? It doesn't give me uh, doesn't give me anything to go forward with or go back with or to think about a character, what he could do, it doesn't give me ideas, doesn't give me
Mm,
to make me read more things about it. It just it's over. So I think
mm.
that's a very, I think, personal thing. It sometimes happens, it sometimes doesn't, and sometimes I like recently for a movie, people were like, "Dude, it was an average movie. How can you say it's the best film?" So it's all about personal things, and
Yeah.
it's definitely that connection. I think one thing my viewers told me that there's so much slang words, the characters we have seen them in real life, so that adds a whole other layer to connect to a film. Maybe if it was set in a place like Halal Love Story, it's about filmmaking, and I've seen that, I've witnessed it, so I like the relatability is a whole different level. The things I can understand, the him shouting sound and everything. I understand those things, so I connect to it. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Salpin has a fun cameo in
Yeah,
this
in this
film.
film also, yeah.
That's
He's like a
the,
cameo king. He's either
that's
in this
the
film as a character or he's a cameo.
yeah, he is a scene stealer in almost every
Definitely,
film that he does a
definitely.
cameo. He is something else. Yeah, you're not expecting him to attack with that roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
I
I,
can't
I was
remember
shocked.
what kind of
I was
martial
like,
arts he
what?
was supposed to
What just
do, but
happened? That was hilarious. That came out of nowhere. I was not expecting it. Maybe I was like, just they get into a fight and suddenly just do the karate, and that's the least thing you can think of.
he is something else. I mean, one thing else that I noticed in watching it again is that there's so many actors who had small supporting roles who now I have seen go on to
Yeah.
be leads and have much larger films. And it was really fun to see them in these small little roles, like Shane Nigam playing
Yeah.
Johnny's younger brother, who exacts revenge, and then Tom Chacko, who plays Johnny, who was Balin's nemesis
Yeah.
in the film. So they have small but key parts, and it was just fun to see them in this early film and thinking about all films like Ishq. I don't know if you've seen
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
with.
Oh my God.
Oh my God!
Every
Right?
time I see his face, I'm creeped out. He's just so, oh my, that film, because while I was watching it, I knew something's gonna happen. It's a thriller,
Yeah,
and the until it happened, I would have gotten heart attack. It
I
was
know.
so nerve-wracking.
I know that was a film I watched at home, and I would just like it was sort of like I had to stop in the middle, like the tension, just
Yeah,
yeah. So, uh, so many great actors that are in this film. But to me, like I said, I think Dulquer did a very fine job. It's one of the very good performances in his career, but Vinayakan, it's one of the career best for him.
yeah,
And you mentioned in your film the makeup and how good that was, because
yeah,
you really see these characters age. Um, I mean, there was another choice of making the Dalit characters have really bad teeth. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, I was sort of surprised and seeing sort of making of or behind the scenes, and I was like, oh, like like Manikandan like
yeah,
really had this protruding teeth and everything, and so um, but over other than that choice to kind of make them look, the way that they aged them was very very good.
yeah,
And you just see this progression, and also just the choice of actors for them as teens, and the kid actors were very good in themselves. I mean, they had quite a bit of screen time, and child actors can be dicey how
yeah,
they are, but I thought they were very good, and especially the actors that played the younger teen characters or young men. I thought were really good, and so it was some of them. I don't think we've gone on to see them do very much more. I don't really recognize them, but I thought not there wasn't one part of the film where you're like, okay, like it wasn't the best. I
yeah.
thought it was just consistent quality of acting through the entire film.
Yeah.
So you did one of your biggest videos is about Malayalam cinema. When
Yeah.
when did you first start watching Malayalam films? What was your first one?
So I think my first one was Dulquer's Solo, if you have
Oh
seen
my
it. It's like
goodness.
an anthology film. So that
Yeah.
was the first one, and I enjoyed it. I think, except the last one, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I
Yeah,
think the
the
next
last
one
one is the one where
was,
he's the soldier, right? With the
yeah, the
twist
last
about
one.
his girlfriend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that one they weren't expecting because I was in the theater watching that and they weren't
okay,
people yeah, like people laughed during that dramatic scene
yeah,
and I think the filmmaker and Dulquer was were not expecting people to
yeah,
react that way. I don't know if it was nervous laughter or what,
yeah,
but anyway, yeah, that yeah, he did very well in that anthology. I like the one where he was the getting the revenge as the doctor with the
yeah,
glasses. That was probably my
yeah.
favorite one of that
Yeah, me too, me too. That was on the cycle, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that
So
was a
that was
good
your
one.
first one. Okay.
Yeah. And I think after that it took me a long time. Then after that, maybe I think it was Virus, I think. The next one was, I think it was last year, and then from this year, I think I got into a hang of watching them regularly. Then I think Kumbalangi happened. Then
Yeah.
I got in Lijo Jos Pillissery, his films, and Fahad, and I explored all of that. And I just, I saw the difference. I've seen Hindi cinema for so long, my entire life, and I've seen other cinemas too, and I see Malayalam cinema, so easily it stands out, in content wise. So I just made that video. I never expected it will blow up, and I just made that video. Just want to share my opinions. Why is this happening? And because my point was that I was getting a lot of comments. Just people saying, "Oh, Bollywood sucks, Malayalam is best, or this cinema is bad, Bollywood is not good, Hindi cinema is not that good." When I just want to, want people to have an informed decision instead of, just believing something that they may not even know about and they just heard people say.
Yeah.
Following the herd mentality. I just wanted to, give information that why things are like this, and that just blew up, and I think it was multiple reasons for that, and that just blew up the channel too.
Yeah.
And then I've been doing more of those videos.
Well, I mean, my journey, like I said, was through Dulquer, seeing him in a Tamil
Yeah.
film, and then being like, well, what else has this guy done? And then at that point in his career, everything else was in Malayalam cinema. And the two films that I started with were amazing films. And to me, they're like independent cinema in the West. That's what they feel like to me.
Yeah.
Like if I went to Sundance, this is the kind of
Yeah.
films that I would
Yeah,
see there.
definitely.
And so when people ask me, well, which one is your favorite, cinema? I can't. They're different flavors. I mean, I like
Yeah.
Bollywood and Hindi films for what they are. I like Tamil films for what they are. If I want to see a machete fight on a Saturday night, I like Telugu films. So and I follow different actors in all of them. But Malayalam cinema is something truly special, and
Yeah.
their audiences demand a level of storytelling. I mean, their budgets are not big, so they have to
Yeah.
be creative with their scripts, and the writing is just so good, and just the natural style of acting as well is just something. And I'm not knocking, other industries and the
Yeah.
conventions that they have. I'm just saying that's one thing that makes Malayalam cinema different and special is the natural style of acting, and they have some of the finest actors. Fahad
Yeah.
Fazal, which you mentioned, amazing. He
He's my
is
favorite.
he is simply amazing, and
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like. Did you see Trance, his recent film?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So I don't unabashedly love that film, but you cannot help but admire his acting in that
yeah.
film, which is
It's his
just
show. It's his show all the way.
just another level. Um, yeah, he is just one of the finest actors, but he's just one of many. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you've had a chance to watch any classic films like Mohanlal
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.
So, my viewers were the ones that kind of suggesting we have to watch this. There's a fight between Dulquer's father Mammootty and Mohanlal. Like
Yeah.
it's sort of like, are you an Amir Khan or a Shah Rukh Khan? Like
Yeah.
which side are you on? And I'm Mohanlal, but I like Mammootty too. And it's funny when I first saw Dulquer, like I didn't realize he was a star kid. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
didn't realize he was a big star's son. But in this film, Kammatti Paadam, especially because of the style of mustache
Yeah.
he's wearing, and when
He had a
they
very
age
different
him,
look. Yeah.
he looks more like his father, in this
Yeah.
film maybe than in any other one. But yeah, I mean, some of the classic films are just amazing, and that's one of the great things about having my channel is that no one in my real life, my family, my friends, they don't watch Indian cinema, and
Yeah.
I have a community of people that I can ask, okay, what else should I watch next? If I like, if I like Rajeev Ravi, what other films should I see? So, and I don't know if you've seen, like I'm blanking on the title, but Fahad Fazil did a film with Rajeev Ravi, a romantic film.
Anayam Roslam.
Yes, that's
Yeah, I
the one.
recently did a review for it.
Yeah, wonderful film, absolutely wonderful film. So, it's just exciting. Everything that comes out of Malayalam cinema, almost all of it is just such good quality, and like Halal Love Story, which we both just
Yeah.
watched this
Yeah.
week. Such a sweet, heartwarming film, but with all sorts of interesting characters and just a different kind of storytelling than what we would
Yeah.
find in any other industry, really.
Yeah.
Have
And
you seen?
that shows how important the audience is. Like recently what's happening in Bollywood with all the controversies, that
Yeah.
what is being made is being made because you'll watch it, because you
Mm.
are giving them money. So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't watch it, if you don't give them money, they'll absolutely change and make something better. So I think Malayalam cinema is an example of that the audience will not take any average thing. They want the piece of art, and the best thing is they understand and appreciate it.
Yeah.
The big problem in a country like India is that many people are not aware what art is, what a good film is. They just want to just get away from their miserable lives, watch something and just go home. So they
Mm.
don't care, if there are 10 people flying or, if there's anything, they don't care about the substance. They just want the thrill and go home and sleep and go back to work next day. I think that really
Yeah.
helps it.
Well, it's interesting also what Netflix and Amazon Prime are doing to the market as well, because some of what might be independent kind of cinema can be made straight to Netflix, where someone like Anurag Kashyap doesn't have to worry about censors.
Yeah.
They can you know they can do films and miniseries and have maybe more freedom to show the kind of stories that they really really want to do. And so that's exciting too, is being able to have some of these directors not necessarily tied to what theaters in North India are willing to show,
Yeah.
and then they can tell different kind of stories. So, just in the 5 or 6 years that I've been watching Indian films, it's changed so much, and this relationship to streaming and how Netflix is really investing in. Yeah, I mean, we get shows like the Matchmaker show or whatever too, but but it's also exciting some of the other content that is being made that maybe otherwise wouldn't be made, and so it's exciting to see what will come next. But I know there's such a controversy going on, and I'm just like on the edges of that. I'm not being blasted with it in the news like you probably are all the time. I don't know how things are going to shake out, and there's no theaters open at all in Mumbai or anything.
Not Mumbai. Some states are not opening it, but some states are opening it. So I think some are operational now. I think they are releasing War and big Tanaji, big films right now, Thappad and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, we had some theaters try to open, and like I said, the one Indian theater has been closed since March.
Yeah.
One big theater chain that showed Hindi films here, the Regal Theater chain, tried to open for a while. And when films like Tenet and other big tentpole kind of films kept getting pushed off, or like Mulan went straight to streaming,
Yeah.
they just shut down again. And Cinemark is a chain where I can see South Indian films near me, and they're even trying to draw viewers in by offering for $150 you can make your own private screening.
Yeah.
So essentially, you could go and you can pick the film, and I guess bring in just your family that you're already in the bubble
Yeah.
with, for the
Yeah.
pandemic. So I've thought about that, but any movie, like I was like, okay, well maybe that'll be worth it to do for Dune, which
Yeah.
then again got postponed.
Yeah.
So I don't know if some of the theater chains are going to survive here after all of this, because we're not dealing with a pandemic well here in the States, and until we have a new president in January, I don't think anything is really going to change. And the season is changing here. It's getting towards winter, and we're all going to be
Yeah.
inside. And then I
Yeah.
think the cases are going to spike even more. So I'm thankful that so many Indian films are coming straight to streaming, because at least we have some new content to talk about.
Yeah.
Not
Definitely.
all of it has been as good as Halal Love
Yeah.
Story, I'll have to say, but but it is nice to have new content like that. All right, well, Kammatti Paadam for me is I think I'm probably would rate it a little bit higher than you. It's at least a 4 out of 5 star movie for me. I just think it's really fine filmmaking. It didn't have exactly the same visceral effect on me, 4 years later that it did. But again, I wasn't seeing it in the theater. I can't even
Yeah.
describe to you how mind blowing it was after what Dulquer had done before to see this
Yeah.
film. Now it's
Even
like,
the
oh yeah, you
visuals,
could what?
cinematography is amazing. So
It is. It is.
yeah.
And you talked about the color of the lighting. I kind of know, you have just the warm, sunshiny kind of tones at the beginning to, like you saying, shifting to. I was making notes, and I noted how Johnny and Sunny, the Tom Chacko and
Yeah.
Shine Nigam's character, like how they were shown in this sort of neonish blue light, and I don't, it just was just so interesting, the lighting choices.
Yeah.
And, it's like I can't describe all of them the way that you can, but I can still just sense I'm in the hands of a master, of someone who
Yeah.
is really at the top of their craft, and who is framing these images and imparting moods to me through his lighting choices and his camera angle choices. And I may not be able to articulate all of that, but I can viscerally feel how I'm in the hands of a master and not an amateur filmmaker.
Yeah. Sometimes, it is a curse knowing, how things work.
Yeah.
And, oh, they cut it, now they change the camera position, now they're doing it again. So sometimes it just, it's a curse. But, sometimes I wish I forgot all of this and just could enjoy the movie for what it is. But it just, I cannot help it. It just comes in my mind. Oh, they did a cut here. They changed the camera. They changed the lens here. So,
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's like you don't really necessarily. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like you can't completely get lost
yeah.
in the film because you're kind of
And
taken
and
out
when
by
I
stuff like that.
when I do, it's just mind blowing. It just that's why some films I'm just blown away and I just love them because me knowing all of these things, they still tricked me, you know, and it's just lovely when I get to watch something like that.
So you talked about watching this film with some of your viewers on Discord. Is this something that you do regularly?
So what we tried was in like multiple times in a week, but that didn't pan out because everyone has their different schedules and everything. So right now I'm being a little busy, so we only did I think two till now this month. But mostly our plan is to at least for a new film, we all just come together, connect to audio and watch it together. So it's a fun experience, and after that we discuss like and for an hour or 2 hours, we're talking
Wow.
about everything, and it just goes from the movie to something else. It's like I think even Serious Men we watched it together, and that was fun to later talk about all of the things, and some things you miss something, someone
Yeah.
else tells you. So that's really enlightening and fun to do, a fun activity.
So when you were watching it, were some of your viewers native Malayalam speakers? Were they
Yeah,
letting you know? Okay, that would be
yeah,
fascinating. Because
yeah,
I feel like, oh, I've probably seen 80 or 90 Malayalam films now, but I didn't grow up there. I don't understand except for a few words here and there. And so I know I'm only understanding at a surface level, and that, like you say, things like, wow, they used this kind of slang in that film, or knowing maybe that was, I don't know, curse words or whatever,
yeah,
that I wouldn't necessarily have known that it was radical that was in a film, or I don't know, just sort of shades of experiences, or yeah, that's exactly what it was like when I was growing up in this city, or whatever,
yeah,
it's, I get some of those comments from my viewers. So for instance, when I did the trailer reaction to Halal Love Story, one of my viewers told me this was very common to make these kind of homegrown hour-long dramas in this, some years back. So this is
yeah,
based on a real thing. And so I wouldn't have known that if that viewer hadn't
yeah,
have shared that kind of background information to know, yeah, this is an homage to a real thing. They didn't just make it up
yeah,
for this movie story.
yeah,
So that
definitely.
that must be amazing to be able to get, especially when you're watching regional cinema and it's about part of the country that you have you ever visited Kerala even, or
Yeah, once I
uh,
think last year. Yeah, for
so uh, next month I was supposed to be in Kerala. I
oh,
had, because of the pandemic, we had to cancel our trip, but I was
okay.
going to make my first trip to India. I've never been. It was really hard to whittle down what cities I was going to visit. We were going to go for 3 weeks. And I just told my husband, I said, the only absolute must is we have to go to Kerala. He was just like, whatever. I'm like, you don't understand. It's God's own country. I have to go there. And
Definitely.
when all of this is over, I'm definitely rescheduling my trip. I cannot wait to see this beautiful country that I have seen set in so many films. I mean, Kamalangi Nights is another one, such a beautiful film, and you're
Yeah.
just like, I want to go to there. Like, I want to be there.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm going to visit Chennai, which I have a friend that I met through my channel that I'm going to stay with. So I don't know if I'm going to visit Mumbai or Delhi or where exactly in North India, but those Kerala and Chennai are so far the only absolute must. But anyway, hopefully this pandemic will have a vaccine in the new year, and we can start contemplating international travel again, and
Yeah.
I'll be able to visit. Well, this is absolutely wonderful conversation. I hope maybe if you're interested, we can do another one and another film in the future.
Sure, sure,
I thought
definitely.
this was a really great discussion, and I'm glad you kind of spurred me to finally do a discussion of this film, which I had seen, over a year before I even had my YouTube channel, and so had never done a video review of the film, and so it was just wonderful to be able to revisit Kammatti Paadam and to watch it and relive kind of my memories of what it
Yeah.
was like to see a film like this in the theater. Anyway, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Where can people
Same here.
find you? Again, talk about your channel and what social media handles where people can find you.
Yeah, so my channel name is Nona Prince, and that's a nickname, my screen name, you can say. And I just explore, cinema, good cinema. That's it. Any language, any place. So slowly getting into world cinema too. And you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter. I have a Discord server. You can join us there. We have a whole community there. We talk about films and a lot of things. So yeah, check me out there.
So what is is your Twitter handle and your Instagram handle the same? What is it? Is it
No,
just,
it's not the same.
oh, okay.
So my Twitter handle is @Gursikandar. That's my real name. and my Insta handle is Nona Prince 4. So
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again so much for this wonderful conversation. And you can find me on Twitter at Pardesi YT. Please do subscribe to both of our channels, and I will have the link below where you can see Nona Prince's channel and his review of Kammati Paadam.